Andrew Gordon Gathy, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Morgenthau, Honolulu, Hawaii. His commission will be presented by his grandfather, Lieutenant Junior Grade Bruce Gathy, U.S. Coast Guard, retired. Joshua Freeman Gary, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Weishi, Alameda, California. Cole Robert Gingrid, graduating with high honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Escanaba, Boston, Massachusetts. Carlos Miquel Gonzalez, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Confidence, Cape Canaveral, Florida. Kyle Thomas Grell, student engineer, Cutter Tampa, Portsmouth, Virginia. Kelly Elizabeth Grills, graduating with high honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Seneca, Boston, Massachusetts. Lindsay Ann Grimm, graduating with high honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Cypress, Pensacola, Florida. Her commission will be presented by her sister, Lieutenant Ashley Dufresne, U.S. Coast Guard. Alyssa Brooke Gominski, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Laguerre, Portsmouth, Virginia. John Mercer Hall, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Polar Star, Seattle, Washington. John Martin Hamill, graduating with honors, student engineer, Cutter Confidence, Cape Canaveral, Florida. Tyler David Hames, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Reliance, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. His commission will be presented by his grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel George Hames, United States Marine Corps, retired, and by his father, Lieutenant Colonel Greg Hames, United States Army, retired. Bradley Reynold Harbert, graduating with high honors, flight training, Pensacola, Florida. Jacqueline Brianna Harbison, student engineer, Cutter Mellon, Seattle, Washington. Wyatt Thomas Harvey, student engineer, Cutter Boutwell, San Diego, California. Cassandra Nicole Holly, graduating with high honors, flight training, Pensacola, Florida. Her commission will be presented by her father, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Holly, United States Marine Corps, retired. Walter Andrew Heaney, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Resolute, St. Petersburg, Florida. Brian Philip Hills, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Drummond, St. Petersburg, Florida. His commission will be presented by his brother, Lieutenant Stephen Hills, U.S. Coast Guard. Jerry Lihang Hong, graduating with high honors, Surface Warfare Officer, Republic of Singapore, Singapore Navy. Judith Ann Hoymans, graduating with high honors, student engineer, Cutter Polar Star, Seattle, Washington. John Robert Hauk, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Tampa, Portsmouth, Virginia. Zachary Ray Hunter, student engineer, Cutter Midget, Seattle, Washington. Andrew Joseph Jager, graduating with high honors. Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Alex Haley, Kodiak, Alaska. Jose Miguel Aramayo, Ecuadorian Navy, Ecuador. Stephanie Joy Marie Joseph, graduating with high honors. Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Cypress, Pensacola, Florida. Carlin Chastain Yo, graduating with honors. Response, Sector Houston Galveston, Houston, Texas. Her commission will be presented by her father, Captain Leopold Yo, United States Navy, retired. Barrett Allen Johansson, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Northland, Portsmouth, Virginia. Andre Jamal Jones Butler, Flight Training, Pensacola, Florida. Elliot James Call, Student Engineer, Cutter Valiant, Mayport, Florida. Megan Kayla Kolonowski, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Paul Clark, Miami, Florida.
Sam's last name. Bacon.
Samuel Jordan Keith, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Northland, Portsmouth, Virginia. Jillian Elizabeth Kelly, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Margaret Norvell, Miami, Florida. Patrick Thomas Kelly, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Escanaba, Boston, Massachusetts. His commission will be presented by his father, Captain William Kelly, U.S. Coast Guard. Scott Wilson Kenny, graduating with honors. Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Harriet Lane, Portsmouth, Virginia. His commission will be presented by his father, Lieutenant John Kenny, U.S. Coast Guard, retired. Clay Overton Kozak, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Dauntless, Galveston, Texas. Jacob Thomas Cram, graduating with honors. Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Weishi, Alameda, California. His commission will be presented by his brother, Lieutenant Junior Grade John Cram, United States Navy. Samuel Warren Culp, graduating with high honors. Prevention, Marine Safety Unit Portland, Portland, Oregon. Catherine Renee Lamphere, graduating with honors. Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Seneca, Boston, Massachusetts. Lucas Pena LaPlante, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Laguerre, Portsmouth, Virginia. Kelsey Lynn LaRoche, graduating with high honors. Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Active, Port Angeles, Washington. Jordan Mitchell Lee, graduating with honors. Flight Training, Pensacola, Florida. Catherine Rose Sarah Leckness, graduating with honors. Student Engineer, Cutter Healy, Seattle, Washington. Her commission will be presented by her father, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Leckness, United States Air Force, retired. Eric Lewis Lenoir, Student Engineer, Cutter Mackinac, Sheboygan, Michigan. His commission will be presented by his father, Lieutenant Joseph Lenoir, United States Coast Guard, retired. John Knight Locke, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Alert, Astoria, Oregon. Charles Richard Lords, student engineer, Cutter Seneca, Boston, Massachusetts. Brandy Jean Lowry, student engineer, Cutter Boutwell, San Diego, California. Lena Alexis Ludwig, student engineer, Cutter Bear, Portsmouth, Virginia. Jessica Dale Lukusik, graduating with high honors, Fulbright Scholarship, University of Mauritius. Kelsey May Lyford, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Kathleen Moore, Key West, Florida. Brendan Magnuson, graduating with high honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Aspen, San Francisco, California. Leslie Ann Major, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Boutwell, San Diego, California. Her commission will be presented by her father, Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Major, United States Air Force Reserve, and by her sister, Captain Lauren Major, United States Air Force. Augustus Paul Manzi, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Mellon, Seattle, Washington. Emily Sophia Marks, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Spencer, Boston, Massachusetts. Samantha Ashley Marmoleo, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Vigorous, Cape May, New Jersey. Allison Elise Mason, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Sherman, San Diego, California. Mark Ian McAndrew, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Alert, Astoria, Oregon. Don Young McGarry, graduating with high honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Kukui, Honolulu, Hawaii. Benjamin Jack McKeithen, graduating with honors, student engineer, Cutter Dauntless, Galveston, Texas. Justino Andres Melendez, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Mellon, Seattle, Washington. Giedris Mikalauskas, Lithuanian Navy, Lithuania. Matthew George Miller, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Tahoma, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Bradley Scott Milliken, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Vigorous, Little Creek, Virginia. Matthew Anthony Monahan, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Morgenthau, Honolulu, Hawaii. His commission will be presented by his father, Colonel Martin Monahan, United States Army, retired. Anthony Joseph Monteforte, graduating with high honors, flight training, Pensacola, Florida. Ryan Gerard Monvitas, student engineer, Cutter Spencer, Boston, Massachusetts. Ryan Joseph Moore, graduating with high honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Mackinac, Sheboygan, Michigan. Virgil Augustus Moreno, graduating with honors, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Bear, Portsmouth, Virginia. Justine Marie Morrison, graduating with high honors, student engineer, Cutter Polar Star, Seattle, Washington. Jake David Mueller, graduating with honors. Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Vigorous, Cape May, New Jersey. Marie Catherine Nevada, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Valiant, Mayport, Florida. Nicole Yazin Nee, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Bear, Portsmouth, Virginia. Jessica Lee Nelson, graduating with high honors. Response, Sector Anchorage, Anchorage, Alaska. Her commission will be presented by her father, Lieutenant Commander Robert Nelson, United States Navy. Alexander James Norton, student engineer, Cutter Berthoff, Alameda, California. Ryan William O'Neill, flight training, Pensacola, Florida. Pablo Andres Ortiz, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Monroe, Kodiak, Alaska. Rachel Stewart Ostro, graduating with high honors, student engineer, Cutter Weishi, Alameda, California. Alex Joshua Oswald, Deck Watch Officer, Cutter Rush, Honolulu, Hawaii.